Have you ever photographed a scene and had a prominent subject within your composition that you really wanted to make it stand out when you process it? Well, let me show you how I did it on this image right here. Hi and welcome. Here's a photograph I captured on the Oregon coast. And the rock sitting here in the foreground to me was extremely unusual compared to most of the stuff that I see when I've been photographing on the Oregon coast. And I just thought, well, this is really a unique rock. I mean, it's got the gray in the middle and it's got some brown around it. And I have no idea because I'm not a geologist about what it all means. But I thought that's cool. But when it comes to processing it, for example, let me just show you here. If I just darken it down a little bit and go down on the highlights to make the sky a little darker and then maybe come back up and play with the shadows, nothing here's really standing out and making that rock look unusual or anything like that. So I decided I'm going to go in and I'm going to isolate that rock and really make it pop. And I want to show you how I'm going to do it right now. So I'm going to start here with the raw file. And of course, it's too bright. So let's knock it down. I'm going to go down about 1. Just to get started. And we'll try that. And I'm going to give it a little bit of contrast, maybe just a bump up like that. And shadows. Shadows are pretty dark. When I look at the histogram up here, shadows look pretty good. Highlights probably where I want them because this is the brightest area of highlights. So we'll leave that. And I don't think I'm going to change much of anything else. I'm going to come in here and white balance is okay because it's fairly neutral. I'm going to come up on vibrance just a little bit to add a little color punch. Maybe right in there about 20 because I can add a little bit more when I move it into Photoshop. And then we'll come down to Effect, Dehaze. That's my new favorite slider. Let's go all the way over. Yeah, that really adds some contrast, but I don't want that much. Prefer to do it in Photoshop, but I am going to bump it up just a little bit and a little bit of clarity as well for mid-tone contrast. So, okay, I've got all the detail I need. Again, I'm not losing any highlights, losing very little blacks, but let's take a look. Okay, I'm losing a little detail in the blacks down here. So let's come back up here and we'll just brighten the blacks up just a little bit for now. So we can play with those a little bit later if we need to. All right, let's go ahead and open it up. And we'll go ahead and fill the screen with it. And so far it looks pretty good from there. Now again, I'm going to want to recover a little bit more of the shadows and we'll work on that in a little bit. But let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is, again, I want this rock to stand out. The natural way to make it stand out is to make it a little bit brighter than the background. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to grab the quick selection tool and make the brush just a little bit bigger, come around and see what we can do as far as trying to keep our selection on the rock itself. And of course, it's picking up some other things because it's very close in tonal value. So holding down the Alt key, coming back in through here, up through here, up through here, so on. Let's see. And we'll knock down this little edge right here. So holding down the Shift again, I'm just going to go in with the polygonal lasso tool, holding down the Shift key. I'm adding just a little bit more in straight lines. Make it just a little bit quicker. This time I'm going to switch over to the lasso tool, holding down the Alt key again. Because this one I'm drawing a little bit more rather than getting a straight line. So there we go. Let's take a look now. Okay, and I'm going to come down into the darker areas here just a little bit to make it a little more even. Let's see how that looks. Not bad. Okay, so the last little section I got to add is right in here, and this time I'm going back to the polygonal because it's more of a straight area. All right, there we go. Okay, so looks pretty good. Looks like I've selected the rock. So pretty happy with that right there. Let's go ahead and save that selection. Save selection, rock. All right, now let's go ahead and I'm going to create a curves adjustment layer, which now, as you can see here, added a mask in the shape of the rock. So we'll leave that. And we'll come in here, and I am going to just brighten the rock up just a little bit. And I might go ahead and add a little punch to it. So let's just slide this point up a little further. There. So now we'll turn that on and off by toggling it. Added a little bit more punch, so that looks pretty good. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remake that selection again by holding down the Control key and double clicking and reselecting it. But this time I'm going to go up to select, get back on the mask, go up to select, inverse. I'm going to do another layer mask. I'm going to do another curves mask. Now notice that this one is for the background. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of an S-curve here as well. A lot of times I just go in and I select a medium contrast, which darkens the background, and then I will fine tune it a little bit from there. And so far so good. Now, as I mentioned, I want to kind of keep some of that detail in there, but I may need to do that on a separate mask rather than this one. So for the most part, this is looking pretty good. Let's brighten up the highlight area just a little bit more, add a little more contrast, and not bad. But let's go ahead and lower the opacity, which is, reducing the impact of that curves adjustment layer. Okay, I'm going to stop at about 75-ish, right in there. Let's click that on and off. Okay, the background's looking pretty good. Okay. And the rock is standing out pretty nicely as well. Now, I think the other thing I want to do here is I want to brighten these shadows up. So let's see what we can do by, wrong one again. We'll go with another curves layer. This time I'm using the scrubby slider up here to try to go in there and, see how it's turning gray. There just may not be enough detail in there to really rescue. So I'm going to go ahead and let that go. We'll leave it like that. Okay, so next I'd like to see a little bit more bump in color. So let's do a hue saturation. And we're going to hue saturate the rock first. So I'm holding down the Alt key or Option key, and I'm dragging that mask up. Yes, I want to replace it. So now any effect I do with hue saturation is going to be only on the rock. So, right, yeah, you can see it's really, that right there is helping it stand out a little bit as well. And I like that a lot. I like that warmth that's already in the rock. So what does that mean for the rest of the image? How should I treat that is one of the things going through my head right now. Well, what about if we made this a little bit cooler? So the warm rock is standing out from a cooler background. So let's go ahead and do a photo filter this time. And we'll select, let's try the cooling filter of blue. Now, we want to protect the rock, so we're going to take this layer here, hold down the Alt Option key, drag that up, and we're replacing that. So now we still have the warm rock, but we have a cooler background, making it stand out a little bit more. So we not only have tonal contrast making this rock stand out, we have color tone or white balance contrast. And let's come back in here, look at it, go up. Okay, see, that's way too much. That's going to look ridiculous. Let's just give it a hint of coolness, like right about in there. Now we'll turn this on and off. I may even have just a little bit too much coolness. So we'll come in here. Okay. Yeah. That's not bad. Good part is I can readjust this at another time. So far, I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Now, what else could I do to make this really pop? So I'm thinking sky replacement. Get rid of that white sky. I mean, we could select the sky. Let's do that right now and see what kind of drama we can create. So we're going to select the sky. It's probably going to select some of this water down here. No, it didn't. It selected most of the sky. Let's go ahead and give that a curves adjustment layer. And just, again, give it medium contrast and darken it. Yeah, that's not working so great just with the initial adjustments. So let's get rid of the contrast part of it and just darken it down. And, you know, that could work. The blue's becoming saturated because I've lowered and darkened it. So let's change the luminosity, or let's change the blending mode to luminosity. Whoop, wrong one, color. Let's go to luminosity, which allows you to darken it, but it doesn't saturate it. It only is adjusting the brightness, but not the color. If you leave the blending mode for a curves layer like that in normal and you darken it, it's going to saturate it as well as darken it. We don't want that. Again, I'm underwhelmed with this, so I'm going to turn this off. Actually, I'm just going to get rid of it because I know I can come back. And again, I like everything I've done, making this really stand out, but making this cooler in tone. So let's go ahead and do a stamp, which is Command Control, Alt or Option, Shift, and the letter E. Now, once again, all these layers are stacked into there. Let's come up to Edit, Sky Replacement, and go in and find a sky. Hey, by the way, I learned something the hard way the other day. I had hundreds of skies because I buy them in my Photoshop sky library. And when I upgraded to the latest version of Photoshop, which is now 25.2, I said go ahead and uninstall previous versions. That's a mistake. I lost all my skies. I have to re-import them all again. It also works for other presets and things like that. Something to think about. So, all right. We'll come in here, and I'm going to look for something a little bit moody, colorful and moody, maybe. Let's see what I might find here. Let's try this one. And doesn't really look very real. And I'll explain that in just a sec. Let's flip it around. Okay, coming down. Okay, first of all, yeah, looks pretty cool. Sunset sky and everything like that. But you know something? I think this is something that photographers overlook a lot when they're doing sky replacement, is you got this nice orange sky, but if you had a nice orange sky, you'd have hints of that orange in your foreground as well. And that is overlooked by a lot of photographers. And so it's just something to pay attention to. This one's kind of nice. Let's see what we get here. Now that's not bad, but I think the same thing is going on here in that you don't have any color coming in here, like even reflecting off a little bits of water and stuff like that. That type of thing I think is pretty important. So let's go ahead and install this one. I'll leave it for now. Just want to make sure I got a good blend. Yeah, I want to be up here somewhere, right about in there. So I still have that's a problem right there. So let's go ahead and see if we wash that out down there a little bit. And let's blow it up. See that ghosting of that back there doesn't look quite right. So we'll shift the edge the other direction, and that'll make it a little bit less prominent, and I don't have to worry about this color that's not showing in the foreground as much this way. So we'll do that, and then we'll try the fade edge. Which way is this going to go? Okay. I'm going to go right about in here. Okay, now brightness. How dark do I want to make it? Well, the only thing that's happening when I make it dark is that it's darkening it, but it's not saturating it. So I'm going to be okay with that. So, and then the other thing here, we've got foreground adjustments, foreground lighting set to 70 by default. I'm going to go ahead and see what I get here, but I'm going to leave it at 70. I think I have a very subtle balance between this slightly colorful sky and the foreground. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that like that. Now, you may have an objection to sky replacement, and I don't. And as such, I have no problem doing this whatsoever. My goal, I'm a photographer in the business. I want to make money. This might sell better than the white sky. That's the only point I really want to make. So I'm really happy with where I'm at here. First of all, I've isolated the subject, making it stand out. It's a little more saturated, and it pops out from that foreground. And I did it again, as you just saw me demonstrate. Brightness on the rock, darkness on the underneath the rock, saturation on the rock, no saturation on the bottom, and also color. Warmer in the rock, cooler around the rock, and that really makes it stand out. So I'm going to go ahead and drop down here like this so you can just kind of get an idea of where we started. And there is our raw file in the beginning. So we selected it and we added some contrast. Then we inverse that and darken the background a little bit. Then we added a little hue saturation on the rock only. And then we added photo filter to add color, cool tones. Here's the thing, if you haven't already heard this before. Warm colors advance, cool colors recede. And what I mean by that is, let's say you got a yellow camping dome tent. You set it up in a meadow with Mount Rainier in the background. You want that tent to be nice and golden because it gives that welcoming appearance that, oh, it's a warm and welcoming place. And you want the mountain to be cool because it's far away. This is warm advances, cool recedes. The coolness always makes the background feel it's in the distance and that the subject is supported by the warmness. So something to think about there, and that's exactly what I did with the colors here. So we then did a stamp, and I did the foreground color with the blue. Foreground color. Then we've got our sky replacement. Okay, so let's bring that all back. And I'm going to leave it right there. I think it's really good. I lied. I'm going to do one more thing just to see if I like it. I am going to select the sky replacement group and then the hue saturation layers above it. Now, you want to clip this so it only affects the sky. So here's the little symbol for clipping right here. Now you got this arrow. Any adjustment I make on the hue saturation will only affect the sky. So let's do that. Okay, a little more colorful, looks pretty good. I can darken it, but I don't really want to do that. And, you know, again, this gets back to what I mentioned early on. I think I'm starting to make it look fake. By saturating it and not having any of this beautiful color down here, I don't know. I'm going to delete it for now. I can always come back and do it again. So there we go. That's our final photo. I made the subject stand out from the background. Again, as I've already said a couple times, through brightness and through color. Warm color, cool color. So there you go. I hope you learned something, and see you later in the next video. Hey, thanks for watching New Photography School. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming tutorials. Keep shooting.